Help me reach my goal and subscribe. And hit the bell icon.
Chapter 69:31. Over? Tawana's father showed a face full of surprise, and blurted out. You two were doing well. Why did it suddenly end? Tawana stammered. Maybe it's still not so suitable. I think if we continue like this, there will be no substantial results. Besides, we are both not young anymore. There is no need to continue wasting each other like this. Not so suitable. Tawana's mother said puzzledly. You two have been together for such a long time. This is the longest relationship you have ever had. You are in your 30s this year. It's time to consider your own marriage. If you break up with Trevor now, it will take you a few more years to fall in love again and get married. I'm afraid you will be 40 years old. At this point, Tawana's mother sighed, depressedly. A woman's youth is only a dozen years. You can't delay it like this anymore. Tawana's father also echoed, yes, baby, with your talent in music, your career period can be long. But your adolescence is fixed. So it's more important to seize the moment and settle down. Tawana's mother immediately echoed her husband's words, adding, Daughter, I think Trevor is actually quite good. He has a nice look and a good temperament. While his income isn't as high as yours, it's already considered elite. You can be financially independent after you get married. And you won't have to worry about him holding you back. Tawana shook her head firmly. Stop talking. I don't have feelings for him anymore. Continuing to waste time on him isn't good for either of us. The couple exchanged a look of melancholy. They had a good impression of Trevor. And their daughter had a complicated love history. She had finally found someone with long-term stability. And they both hoped they would soon be able to tie the knot. They felt it was almost certain. But they didn't expect it to end so drastically. Tawana's mother was visibly upset. Her daughter's relationship status had reached 0. And she didn't know when she would finally find love. Their family had already earned enough money to last them several lifetimes. And they longed for their daughter to move on to the next stage of her life. But now it seemed like that was a distant prospect. Tawana's father couldn't help but ask. Has Trevor changed his mind? Has he been having affairs lately? No, Tawana said, feeling somewhat guilty, and quickly replied. It has nothing to do with a change of heart. Tawana's mother suddenly thought of something and blurted out. Daughter, could it be that you've changed your mind? Tawana didn't dare to answer her mother's question, hesitating. I already told you it had nothing to do with a change of heart. So please stop asking. Tawana's mother blurted out. During your concert in China, the entire internet was filled with news about you and that dancer kissing through your mask. Was it a bit too much on stage that made Trevor unhappy? It's possible. Tawana's father immediately agreed. The coverage was indeed a bit intensive. And the stage scale was indeed larger than previous performances. If I were Trevor, I might also feel a little resentful. Chapter 69:32. After that, Tawana's father quickly advised. Daughter, if you have a misunderstanding because of this matter, Dad suggests that you find an opportunity to explain it to him clearly. Work is work, life is life, just keep them separate. Tawana said a little irritably. You two should stop discussing this here. No matter how you discuss it, Trevor and I have come to the end. There is no way I can go back to the way we were before with him. Let alone marry him. In fact, I would rather not get married for the rest of my life than marry him because of age. Mom couldn't help but say, but you have to think about your own life. Your career is so successful, and you have made so much money. In the future, your music copyrights will continue to create wealth for you. But you have to move forward in your life. Otherwise, what will happen to the money you earn and your music copyrights? Who will inherit them? Tawana blurted out, if I am destined to have descendants. My descendants will inherit them naturally. If not, then I will just donate them all after my death. Mom's eyes were red with anxiety. How can this be? Those stars who die alone are very pitiful. Some people are surrounded by all kinds of scammers in their twilight years. They are all eyeing their inheritance. Various institutions are swarming around them like flies. Desperate to get their money, as if they were prime stakes on the table. I can't bear to see you suffer that kind of torture in your old age. Tawana said seriously, Mom, I'm only in my 30s. I don't want to worry about the problems you're talking about. Besides, I believe in my own abilities. Since I was able to build my own business in my 20s, I'm sure I won't be manipulated by those people in my 70s or 80s. You don't have to worry about these things for me. With that, Tawana stood up and prepared to go to the terrace to enjoy the sea breeze and calm down. But at that moment, her phone suddenly received a WeChat message. The moment she saw the WeChat push notification, she was overwhelmed with joy, and her previous annoyance instantly disappeared. She knew it must be from Charlie. Tawana's main social circle is in Europe and the United States. Europeans and Americans have their own social media and instant messaging apps. And not many use WeChat on a daily basis. The main reason Tawana downloaded WeChat and registered an account was to contact Charlie. She had added some Chinese friends on WeChat, but they were mostly just work partners. After Chinese's 20 concerts, she had set all of them to Do Not Disturb. Only one person had the notifications turned on, Charlie. So, whenever there was a push notification on WeChat, it was definitely from Charlie. Tawana's visible transformation, her overjoyed expression, instantly alerted her parents to something amiss. At that moment, she quickly picked up her phone and opened WeChat intently. She saw a message from Charlie, which read, "Which villa does Miss Sweet live in? I'm leaving the island today, and want to see you." Excited, Tawana quickly replied, "I live in Villa 1, but I'm currently in Villa 2, where my parents are staying." Charlie replied, "I'm across from you. If it's convenient, I'll come over later." Tawana immediately replied, "Then let's meet at Villa 2. I'll be back soon." Charlie replied, "Okay, see you later." Tawana put away her phone and immediately told her parents, "I'm going back to my room. A friend is coming to visit later." Without waiting for her parents to reply, she hurried out to her room. Tawana's mother couldn't help but say to her husband, Tawana's behavior just now was very much like that of a teenager in love. Who is the friend she's talking about? Tawana's father shook his head and said, "I don't know, but she's definitely been a little off lately. Could she have a new crush?" Chapter 69:33. Just as Tawana's parents were puzzled, Charlie had already arrived at the door of Tawana's villa. He rang the doorbell, and Tawana, who had hurried back to put on some makeup, ran out and opened the door for him. Seeing Charlie, she felt both happy and shy, and said excitedly, "Mr. Wade, you are here. Please come in." Charlie waved his hand and said, "Miss Sweet, I won't go in. Let me just say a few words here." Tavanna was a little disappointed. "Ah? Talk here?" "Yes." Charlie nodded and smiled. "My family and I are leaving the island today. So I came to say hello to you. Also, I want to thank you in person for your charity performance in France." Tavanna looked at Charlie and said respectfully and with some ambiguity, "Mr. Wade, you have saved my life time and time again. No matter what you ask me to do. Even if it means going through fire and water. Even if it means paying a huge price. I will never hesitate, so please don't say thank you to me." Charlie smiled and said, "I do feel a little sorry for adding a few more concerts for you for no reason. And they are charity performances with no income." "You're joking." Tawana said shyly. "Ever since you saved my life in Tokyo, money has no meaning to me. If you need it, I'm willing to do all my concerts for free." Charlie smiled and said, "Miss Sweet, you don't have to be so polite. The reason I invited you to France to hold charity performances this time is to give Bernard a face. But don't worry, even though you don't take a penny. He certainly won't dare to treat you badly. In addition, you can cooperate more in the future. His group has so many luxury brands. We can cooperate with each other. There's no need to think about charging less to save his face. And there's no need to think about charging less to save my face. He doesn't need money at all." Tavanna understood what Charlie meant, nodded slightly, and said, "I understand, Mr. Wade." After that, she looked at Charlie and mustered up the courage to ask him, "Mr. Wade, are you really not going to come in and sit for a while? There's no one else here. I live alone." In fact, Tavanna didn't want to take the opportunity to have something happen with Charlie. She just felt that if the two of them stood here and talked, Charlie would definitely say a few words and then leave. If she invited him to sit in the house for a while, the two of them would at least have a chance to talk more. But Charlie didn't want to be alone with Tavanna in private. This American woman was a bit too unrestrained. Which was really a bit too much for him to handle. So, he smiled and said, "I won't go in. I'm about to check out and go to mail. I just came to say hello to you." Tavanna nodded slightly with some disappointment and sighed. "After Mr. Wade goes back, I don't know when we will meet again." Charlie smiled and said, "You and Changing Automobile will inevitably cooperate in the future. And there will be many opportunities to meet. When the first car of Changing Automobile rolls off the assembly line, I will invite you to be the image spokesperson." Tavanna nodded heavily and said, "Then it's a deal." "Okay, it's a deal." Charlie agreed and asked Tavanna, "By the way, when do you plan to leave?" "Tomorrow." Tavanna said, "I arranged for the person in charge of the performance team to go to Paris. I will go back home to rest for a few days. Once the performance time in Paris is confirmed, I will actively prepare." Charlie nodded and smiled. "Then I wish you a successful performance in advance." "Thank you, Mr. Wade." Seeing that he had already greeted her, Charlie said to her, "Miss Sweet, the previous incident during this vacation must have had a great impact on your mood. After the French performance is over, If you still want to come to the Maldives for vacation, you can come to Whitehorse again. After the current guests on the island check out and leave the island, the island will no longer be open to the public. I will arrange for mercenaries from the Cataclysmic Front to be stationed here. If you come here for vacation again, your safety will be guaranteed. Tavanna asked in surprise. Will Whitehorse not be open to the public in the future? It seems that this island has not been open for a few years, right? Charlie smiled and said. Bernard came here to thank me for saving his life. I've been given this place and the other island as gifts. From now on, you can treat it as your own. Whenever you want to come, just let me know and we'll take care of everything. Tavanna's face was filled with surprise. Will you come here often, Mr. Wade? Chapter 69:34. Charlie smiled and said. It depends. Since we have this convenient opportunity, I'll probably come here more often. Charlie was thinking that he and Claire had only traveled together once in all these years. But this was a good start. A first trip would lead to a second. In the future, he could come to the Maldives with her often. This place is essentially isolated from the world and is truly a great place to relax. Seeing that it was getting late, Charlie pulled his thoughts back and said to Tavanna, Okay, Miss Sweet, I have to go back. See you next time. Tavanna nodded repeatedly. See you next time, Mr. Wade. Charlie waved and turned to leave. Tavanna watched him leave before returning to her room in a daze. She had just settled herself down on the sofa in the living room when her parents walked in. Tavanna's mother asked with concern. Daughter, who was that man just now? Tavanna was startled by her parents' sudden appearance and exclaimed. Mom, Dad, how did you two get in here? Tavanna's mother said helplessly. You didn't lock the door yourself. What were you thinking about? You were so absent-minded that you even forgot to lock the door. Huh? Oh, nothing, nothing. Tavanna was very embarrassed and stammered. I was just thinking about the performance later. And I might have been a little distracted. Tavanna's mother asked her. Daughter, you haven't told us who that man was. Tavanna murmured in her heart. Who is that man? He is the love of my life. But how could she say such words out loud? So she explained to her parents. He is Mr. Wade, a Party A staff member, who worked with me when I held concerts in Huaxia. Tavanna's mother noticed that her daughter was obviously evasive and flustered when answering questions about the man just now, so she quickly asked. Did you make an appointment with him to come here together? No, didn't. It's a coincidence. Tavanna quickly explained. I didn't expect him to be on the island. Tavanna's father came over and asked her. Baby, tell us, what is your relationship with that Asian man? Are you breaking up with Trevor because of him? Tavanna pursed her lips and said. My relationship with him is my personal matter, don't ask. As for whether I broke up with Trevor because of him, it doesn't matter. The important thing is that I no longer have those kinds of feelings for Trevor. Tavanna's mother said helplessly. Baby, don't forget that you were born by me. There are some things you can't hide from me. Tell me the truth, do you have feelings for that Asian man? Or, have you two made clear progress? Tavanna quickly explained, Mom, don't guess blindly. Mr. Wade and I are innocent. And he is already married. He came to Whitehorse Island this time with his wife. Are you here with your wife? Tavanna's mother breathed a sigh of relief and quickly warned her. If you're going to publicly break up with Trevor, then for the next 6 months, you absolutely must avoid any scandals with anyone else, as this will negatively impact your reputation. Tavanna replied perfunctorily. I understand. You don't have to worry about me. When Charlie and his family concluded their brief trip to Whitehorse Island and flew back home, Bernard had already landed in New York. The United Nations attached great importance to his arrival, with the Deputy Secretary General and the head of the Office of Counterterrorism personally welcoming him at the airport. Just like his previous visit to France, reporters flocked to the airport, eager to capture the latest news. As soon as Bernard stepped off the plane, he was surrounded by reporters, who peppered him with questions, the most frequent of which was how much he planned to donate to the UNOCT. Bernard bluntly stated, "Ladies and gentlemen, time is limited, so I won't answer all your questions here. I'll briefly address some of your concerns. First, I'm here to donate $200 million to the United Nations Office of Counterterrorism to advance counterterrorism efforts worldwide." Reporters at the scene were stunned. While many wealthy individuals donate these days, and even more established charitable foundations, few make such large cash donations directly to a prestigious institution like the UN. The reason for this is simply due to unspoken industry practices. Many wealthy individuals donate money not as a genuine donation, but rather as a way of transferring it from their own pockets to another, completely controlled pool. These individuals often donate to their own foundations, but this money doesn't necessarily go toward charitable causes. It often serves as a kind of trust for themselves and their descendants. Using the guise of charity to establish a foundation not only garners a good reputation, but, more importantly, provides an excellent tax shelter for their funds. So they were very generous in donating money to their own foundations, often donating hundreds of millions, billions, or even tens of billions of dollars. But donating to an organization like the United Nations was different. It wasn't just a transfer from one hand to another. It was a direct donation of real money. So when the reporters heard that Bernard was going to donate $200 million to the United Nations, they were all shocked. These $200 million, once donated, would definitely not be taken back. It seemed that Bernard really wanted to promote the global fight against terrorism. At this moment, Bernard suddenly thought of something and quickly waved his hand and said with a smile, No, I need to correct that. These $200 million are to promote the United Nations counterterrorism work." Chapter 69:35. As Bernard spoke, the expressions of the surrounding reporters turned into shock and confusion. Some reporters from media outlets, upon hearing that Bernard had donated but excluded one country, were skeptical. Meanwhile, those from local media outlets immediately turned grim. They felt that their country was being discriminated against. In reality, $200 million wasn't even enough to cover the costs of their nominal counterterrorism operations, let alone combat terrorism. So they didn't need Bernard's donation. However, for the local reporters, it is like you can refuse them money, but you can't discriminate against us. So, a local reporter immediately asked indignantly, "Mr. Arno, I want to know why you excluded our country from the use of the donation funds this time. I think we have always been a model of global anti-terrorism, and a leader in anti-terrorism operations. No one understands anti-terrorism better than us. Is it really inappropriate for you to treat us differently in this matter? Bernard looked at the reporter in surprise and teased. The tone and manner of your speech reminded me of an old friend. I won't name him here. The reporters around him who understood burst into laughter. Bernard also smiled and continued. I still have to answer your question directly. Why are we excluded from the $200 million? It is because until now, Blackwater and the government have not given us a satisfactory answer to the attack on Whitehorse Island. They just casually put forward a scapegoat and want to fool this matter. I personally do not accept it. And I believe Ms. Tawana cannot accept it either. And all the people in the world who have a sense of justice certainly cannot accept it. At this point, Bernard snorted coldly. His face was filled with a sense of justice that threatened to overflow the screen. He raised a hand and declared loudly, "If you can't give me a satisfactory answer on this matter, I have reason to suspect it's deliberately shielding Blackwater. If justice isn't served, I'm willing to indefinitely withdraw all my brands from the local market. Exclusion from these $200 million in anti-terrorism donations is my message to the government." The surrounding reporters were surprised to see this old man, who had always been obsessed with profit, even inventing and promoting the rationing system to make money. Suddenly, I became so full of justice. The reporters looked at each other in bewilderment. In this situation, it was simply unrealistic for them to continue to confront him. Bernard had already taken the moral high ground. The previous incident on Whitehorse Island had been a hot topic and widely known. The officials were also closely watching Bernard's trip. Public opinion was his biggest concern. So they were worried about the old man's unbridled outbursts. And Bernard didn't disappoint them. He launched into a tirade the moment he stepped off the plane. This was intolerable. With a sullen face, the high official immediately instructed his staff. "Quick, notify all major media outlets to immediately write articles smearing Bernard. See if he has any old grievances, dig them up, and publicize them. Then, label him as someone who is doing it for publicity, with no genuine interest in counter-terrorism."